Welcome to Newburyport's third annual Indigenous Peoples Day event. And I'm going to be back to make some announcements, and I'll be emceeing throughout the day. And we are so pleased and privileged and honored to have many Native representatives with us today from all around the Northeast. The first of these, I would like to welcome Nicholas Paul and his family. They are from Indian Township, Maine, Maliseet, and from Tobique First Nations in New Brunswick, Canada. So we are going to turn it over to them. They're going to share some welcoming songs and words and prayers. And we would ask if you could please be respectful by paying close attention and not talking while the ceremony is happening. We'd very much appreciate that. So thank you and enjoy the day.
Donegal, Peter Wen. We welcome everybody today, and thank you for welcoming us here, Christine, to your celebration. I'm Roger Paul. I'm Skichin, Chkopinakin from northeast of here. We were we just did the powwow song and the grand entry song, and what we're going to do next is a tradition that Skijinoog have done for thousands of years, is we honor our veterans. And the thing about our veterans is we honor all sides. The veterans that put their lives in harm's way to protect others. To us, a veteran is not someone who goes out and kills. To us, a veteran is somebody who puts themselves in the way of harm to protect others. And that's how we should look at veterans, and we need to honor all veterans who put their lives on the line for the protection of the young and the old and the people back in their communities. So we honor all veterans. During this veteran song, we ask that any veterans from any skirmish please come to dance, and so that we can honor you, and so that we can honor that you had the courage to put your life on the line to protect others, and you have survived and were able to come back to your people. So during a veteran song, we ask that if you could, to please stand to honor them, and for any men that have a hat on, unless you have an eagle feather, that you remove your hat to show that honor to these veterans that have sacrificed for the protection of others. Chiwiliwan.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it?
Yeah, I can. I can now.
Okay, you can go over here.
If you're a veteran and you'd like to participate, if you could line up over here at the eastern door. You don't have to be native as long as you're a veteran.
Daddy.
And you don't have to dance either, you can just walk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chiwiliwan Sidawan. As I mentioned earlier, we want to welcome everyone. We do a lot of our Squabanaki traditions. This isn't our traditional territory. This is the territory of the Wampanoag and the Narragansett and some of the other local tribes. So we're guests here, but we're honored to be able to be a guest here. We always open our gatherings with some words of gratitude. Some people call it a prayer, and that's okay in your language, but prayer in English seems to have lost its meaning. Prayer sometimes is words to ask for something or to want something to happen. And prayer for us has always been to ask for teachings, to teach us about something, and to give thanks for what we already have. I'm just as guilty as the others. I've prayed for the Bruins, and that didn't always work. It was very humbling for me to realize that I need to stop asking for what I want and being more thankful for what I have. So when we say prayer in English, in our language, we say "Imia Wagan." It's actually a tool to ask for teachings so that we can learn about this and that we can learn how to make life better for all of creation, not just of humans, but all of creation. And so I'm like to offer a few words of gratitude to open up our day. Jigigwasan, nagagichin iwaskuman, gamajwaliwan ejiwo iska. Gamajina no as well to multiben, Elio Dejiput, Seedewen, Nolia has old even Elias Elman of Walanke would see that Nijan. Would you Kamina? Would you give you a joke and mortgage bobbing off ye? Nagap see the Damaskitino. Nagago it been winning. Would you give you woke up Kadil? Nagan would you come on and see the Bamauso in all? Nagap see the gag Bamauso week? Gabi there, see the gag Bamauso week ben. Gilio Gansosik. Julie when Amelia Bamauso and Ben Kiska. Gamachan as well to Multiven. Need age us Camille. Blue one. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Roger and his family so much for being part of this special day. And it's a privilege and honor to have them here and for me to introduce the day. I'm a settler here in Nadakina, and I try to be an ally and good neighbor to our Indigenous peoples and to acknowledge and recognize the lands that we're on. So I'd like to offer a land acknowledgement. Newburyport is located in Nadakina, the traditional Indigenous homelands of the Abenaki, Pawtucket, Pennacook peoples of the Dawnland. We acknowledge and honor with gratitude the land, the waterways, and the Alnobak people who have stewarded Nadakina throughout the generations and have ongoing cultural and spiritual connections to this area. We want to thank some of our Indigenous organizers of this event here today and participants, including Chickie Red Dawn, our elder who came in earlier, and her family, a Micmac. Yeah, let's give them a round. There she is. Good check. The heart and soul of this event here and our local team, and her niece, Sarah Small Turtle Levinson, and she's over there doing the prayer ties, so please go over and say hi to her. And Melanie Rocking Cradle Courier is here as well from her family. Yeah, and we want to thank them for all their contributions to this event. Daniela Curry Gutierrez is over there. She also has a native craft booth from Mexican heritage. Thank you, yes. And Seth Willie, who was dancing here he is in the circle, lives in Amesbury, and he's a drummer and storyteller. Thank you, Seth. We want to thank Gary Whitewolf, Onegawea, who is our firekeeper today, and so much more. Drummer and singer and dancer. Thank you, Gary, for lighting the sacred fire. We have Lenny and Kelly Novak over here from Wolf Spirit Studios. Thank you so much for all you did to help organize and share and support. We have Christina Mariah of Divine Paradigm over there. You can visit her booth. She's over in the corner. She's waving. Thank you, Christina, for your support and sponsorship. We also have Dan Spears here today. He is the leader of the Native American Task Force in Haverhill, and he's a poet laureate of Haverhill. So thank you, Dan, for being here. He's going to be sharing his poetry later from the stage. We have Alex and Deborah Falcone, a young man, high school student, who's going to be doing another land acknowledgement in a little bit. Thank you both. And we have Joseph Gray, the Abenaki sculptor, who has made these incredible sculptures that you see in the four sacred directions. Thank you so much, Joseph, for your contributions to this event. And we want to thank our tribal leaders. Couldn't be here today because of the rain date. She was supposed to speak today, but she's a board member, and we want to thank her for her support. We want to thank the Mashpee Wampanoag cultural educators, Darius and Eleanor Coombs, who will be here in a little while doing a wampum making workshop and corn husk doll making workshop. So please come and check that out. And thank you so much to our Passamaquoddy Maliseet cultural educator and linguist, Roger Paul. Thank you so much. He's come down from 4 hours away and made incredible contributions. He's also a faculty member of the Upstander Project Teachers Academy and so much more. And we thank him and his son, Nicholas Paul, who was drumming earlier, and his wife and children who are here from 7 hours away, Presque Isle, Maine. Yeah, so they've made a huge effort to come. They're going to be in Newton, Mass tomorrow for the Newton Indigenous Peoples Day event. And we have Abenaki storyteller Willow Green, who's I think over by the booth here today with her daughter Liz Green Charlebois. And so we thank them. And we want you to take time today to really get to know these folks. Say hello, ask some questions, take the time to learn and listen. There is such diversity amongst Native cultures. And we honor them all, and we are so grateful to everyone who is here today. We make our land acknowledgements gratefully, acknowledging the native lands and people. We are also aware of continual violations of water, territorial rights, and sacred sites in these and other Indigenous homelands. And we recognize that this land acknowledgement is not sufficient to rectify the historic and ongoing impacts of settler colonialism, land dispossession, ecological devastation, forced removal of children to residential schools and foster care, and other forms of cultural genocide which continue today. The history of local dispossession includes these lands on the south bank of the Molodamak, Deep River in Abenaki, deeded in 1638 by the Sagamore of Agawam, Masconomet, to John Winthrop Jr. and English colonists, for what is today the land called Newburyport and most of Essex County. This also includes the lands on the north side of the Molodamak, deeded by the Sagamore Passaconaway and other Pawtucket, Pennacook, Abenaki leaders, as well as all the unceded Indigenous territories appropriated by English colonial governments and others through debt, war, bounty proclamations, legal coercion, resource depletion, and other methods of cultural genocide, which became the towns that we occupy today. Land acknowledgements are a small gesture of respect for Indigenous nations to accurately tell the story of how the land passed from Indigenous to non-Indigenous control and chart a path forward for redressing the harm inflicted through the process of dispossession. Hence, any land acknowledgements must be accompanied by action. As we reflect upon and acknowledge these potentially uncomfortable truths about the history of these lands we stand on today, we also want to recognize positive local actions being taken to redress these harms and respectfully recognize Indigenous peoples who are still here today. These efforts include the City of Newburyport's official adoption of the resolution to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday in October. So it's a great thing, good step forward. And this honors our region's native past, present, and generations to come. Local students and citizens made their voices heard, and the city responded positively. No longer will our community officially celebrate Columbus, responsible for the first large-scale genocide and dispossession of Native peoples in this hemisphere. This is a small yet significant step. This year, the City Council also voted to adopt the Massachusetts legislation agenda to change the state seal and flag, which has been a source of controversy for many years. It is seen by many Native people and by other residents as an offensive symbol of white supremacy and the historical oppression of Native people in Massachusetts and our nation as a whole. So we want to thank the city for their adoption of that. And we also want to thank the city's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance for their support of this event today. We have Councilor President Heather Shand somewhere here in the audience. Thank you, Councilor Shand, for your vision and leadership and support of this event as a community partner. We also want to thank Tina Lose from the DEI office and other members of the DEI, Marianne Vesey. Furthermore, our city's leaders have made a commitment to recognizing Indigenous lands and peoples here in the new waterfront park, now under construction, which you see right over here. And here on the banks of the river, which was central to the lives of many Native people, will be the future home of the Indigenous Peoples Place site. This is a commemorative site which will include interpretive signage and a gathering place for learning, sharing, and connecting across cultures. We want to thank Mayor Sean Reardon, who is here today with us, and councilor members, and the city's planning department, Jordy Vining, who I see over there, and Andy Port, for their visionary leadership in the creation of this future Indigenous Peoples Place. We look forward with hope to our city's new path forward, publicly honoring and celebrating its Indigenous history, presence, and future. So please welcome Mayor Sean Reardon to say a few words to us.
All right, good morning. What a beautiful day. I would like to thank you all for being here today and for inviting me to speak. Thank you to this event's organizing sponsors, Imagine Studios and the Newburyport Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance that was just mentioned. Thank you to Christine Malapika for all your work putting this together and for the wise decision to move it to the rain date today. That's right, you should get a hand for that. We have a wonderful group here in Newburyport that works on the DEI Alliance, and I'd like to thank our coordinator, Tina Lose, for making it all happen. We have an impressive group of speakers representing many Indigenous groups today, and I am grateful that you decided to join us and share your culture and experiences with us here in Newburyport. We gather today to honor and to celebrate all Native peoples, past and present, and to observe the third official Indigenous Peoples Day here in Newburyport. To that end, I want to begin by acknowledging the Native peoples of this region that include the land we are gathered in today, including the Abenaki, Pennacook, Wabanaki, and Micmac. We acknowledge this is Native land, and we express our sorrow for the history of forced removal of this land, as well as the gratitude for the use of this space today. We have the great responsibility today to honor the history, present and future, of this region's Native peoples, and to the work together to protect and preserve this land for our descendants. While this space is a little less scenic than it has been in the past due to these two large construction projects that we have going on down here today, we are working to preserve this land for the future, facing the threat of climate change. This land will be accessible to the public in perpetuity as an expanded park, and the first phase of that work is underway now. We are connecting this park space to the surrounding trails and building new areas for active and passive recreation. As many of you know, the city is actively discussing how we can honor the contributions of Native peoples in this new park, and is looking to advance plans for an area of the park that will be known as Indigenous Peoples Place that Christine just mentioned. It'll be located hopefully over here in the corner. This could be a seating area near the water's edge, appropriate for such ceremonies such as this in the future years. And the current design that we've discussed includes a fire pit style sculpture that symbolically represents the community gathering place of Indigenous peoples. The city will need to fundraise separately to include this sculpture, and I look forward to working with you on finding ways to make that happen. I also want to announce my plans to form an Indigenous Peoples Advisory Group that will be reporting to the Mayor's office. Other communities around us have found new ways to honor and recognize Indigenous peoples, and we also want to better support issues that affect them now. This group will include representation from Indigenous groups and other area residents, and I look forward to advancing this initiative in the coming months. I am proud to be in a community that celebrates Indigenous Peoples Day and offers opportunities like this to educate all on the continued contributions of Native peoples here in Newburyport. The displays of culture we witness today through music, dance, stories, and the spoken word will be a powerful symbol of the continued strength of the tribes here today. Thank you again for being here, and it's an honor to join you to celebrate this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Reardon. And Councillor Shand, would you like to say a few words? Not sure where she went, but there she is. Okay. Please welcome Council President Heather Shand.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, a little bit. So when I was asked to speak today, I was remembering my 9th grade Alabama history class where I learned about the Creeks, Cherokees, Choctaws, and Chickasaw Native American tribes, and I still think that it's easier to say those than it is to say the ones up here. I think that's a Southern thing. But with that being said, those are the few things I do remember of that class, and I think it's unfortunate that that's all we were taught. And that's probably probably the same as around the country, how we just learn the names and we don't learn the stories. So I do hope people take today as an opportunity to listen and learn all the stories that we're going to hear about, because those voices matter and we need to listen to them more often. So enjoy the day. I am glad you did change it to today. Perfect day for it, and enjoy Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shand and Mayor Reardon. And now we're going to welcome back our Indigenous leaders to share some songs and I think invite people in to do some dancing. So I'm going to turn it back over to them. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy the day.
Oh, can you hear me? Would I be better on that one or this one? My name's Nicholas Paul. Like you said, I live in Presque Maine. It's like 6-7 hour drive north. But my family is originally from Medoclebook and near Princeton, Maine, and Newburyport, which is Tobic First Nations in New Brunswick, Canada. So what I do is I'm a storyteller. I tell stories with the songs that I sing. I tell stories with the dances that we do. If you ask my dad and my wife, I tell a lot of stories and over-exaggerate a lot. So with that being said, and don't worry, you can laugh all you want at anything that happens. We don't take things too serious. We have this concept called Indian time. Now that Indian time is you either show up 5 minutes early, which never happens. If you show up early, you become part of the setup crew. So we always show up late. And it's not because we're always late, it's just everything happens when it's supposed to happen. So with postponing yesterday and changing to today, it's just happening when it's supposed to happen. We didn't pick it, it's just what everything is decided. So like I said, I'm from way up north. I traveled down with my wife, Wopai. Well, that's her short name. Her full name is Pau Chau Nokanoi Wopai. And it means she who dances on night winds. She is actually from Rhode Island. She's Narragansett from Rhode Island and Pequot from Connecticut. So this is her territory. I had to come down here because I have a big family and she's just so pretty. I couldn't resist it. And I'm trying to get brownie points right now too, so help me out. But I traveled down. I have my daughter Zipses, Paul. I have my son Hiawatha, Paul. Me and Hiawatha travel around with a drum group called Wabanaki Confederacy, and we travel around and compete and everything. We've traveled around across the United States and Canada, going to different territories, different powwows, competing. I also have my youngest daughter, Ditya, which I don't know where she is. Ditya! Squeak! Put her over there. I don't point with my fingers, I use my lips or sometimes point too far. And then also have my cousin Bedog, who's been like a brother. He showed up today, he's gonna help us out. My sister-in-law, Okwisi, who's my wife's younger sister. She's annoying. I have my granddaughter, Maosik Weekwai, she's here. Is she taking a nap? Oh, she'd probably come running out, wanting mama in a bit. And so, like I said, we're storytellers. We're going to do different dances, show you guys different dances, powwow dances at first. And then we're going to do what we call social dances. And this is where we get audience participation. So you guys get to see how it's done real quick, and then you can try it out with us. Now there's no right or wrong way to doing it. We will show you how it's normally done, and then you guys can just try how you would like to do it. There's no right or wrong way to dancing, unless you're at a competition, then you get judged on the right or wrong way to dance and drum, but I mean, competitions, the biggest one used to be Skimitzen, and I remember it used to be like $5,000 for first place for men's categories, and like $50,000 for drums. So there's people that we know that make a living off of traveling and dancing and drumming. So I think, you want to go first? All right, Zipses is going to go first. So what Zipses is her regalia here. That's what we call the outfits that we wear as regalias. So she has what's called a jingle dress regalia. This started in the Ojibwe territory. She has these little cones on the bottom of her dress that make that noise. So what those were made from is you can either have deer hooves or shells, but these ones here were adapted because they would go out to the plains, and a lot of the chewing tobacco tins, they would just take the cover off and throw it. And the natives would pick them up and turn them into cones, and now you have a decorative ornament for your regalia. She also has what's called parflechi. Is that what it's called? I have the Canadian accent, so some words I say don't sound how they're supposed to. So, is it parflechi or parfleche? Parfleche? Oh, excuse me, parfleche. Belt on, and then her top, watch out, that thing blew up a lighter a little while ago. Her top, or her bib, as you call it, has leather and shells on it. And then she has otter. Is that one otter or two? One otter. So those are her hair ties. And then, did you make them earrings? Oh, Sumaya made those ones. So her little cousin Sumaya made those earrings that she's wearing. And then as you can see, she also does face paint and other stuff. And so, oh, and her moccasins. Or her shoes. You want it straight? Too? Oh, you're so easy. So, this dance is a healing dance. A lot of jingle dress dancers, what will happen is if there's a sickness that somebody has, or the community is going through a hard time, or a family member is going through a hard time, what they will do is they will offer tobacco to the jingle dress dancer, and the jingle dress dancer will dance. It's a healing dance like that. Remember the audience participation that I talked about? We're not going to do it yet. So, like I said, that's a healing dance. It started in the Ojibwe territory. It's for the healing and everything. My daughter, we've traveled. She's gotten first place at competitions. My wife, me and my wife started dancing when we were young, and our kids have done it ever since they were able to walk. So we're very proud of our kids and what they do, because they've become a part of the storytelling like us. Like me and her started the story, and now they're continuing in another chapter and continuing their own books and everything. So it makes us very proud as parents. Yeah, which we learned from our parents. So she's gonna go change because that's very heavy. So now what we're gonna do is, what the hell? Oh, sorry, he's not ready. So what we will do now is we will go to, so we're going to go to a women's traditional dance. Now in this territory, it is called a blanket dance or Eastern blanket. So the story is that the women in this territory would spend all season making a blanket. They would figure weave blankets. Whenever it came time for the powwow or the social, they would do a dance, and whatever man they thought was cute or thought could provide for their family, they would drop their blanket in front of that man. And if the man accepted, he would pick it up. If he didn't, he just and then walk off. Which kind of sad sometimes. So my wife and my sister-in-law are going to do that. And Deepya is too young to do it. I'm not going to allow that, no. She's not. She's going to grow up and have a house full of cats. We've already decided. We decided that with Zipses, she didn't get the memo. So, but Ditias is going to dance with a rattle. So, back then, what we would do is everything that we did, like the hunting, every part of that animal was used. So we would use the skin and we would tan it, and we would either tan it with the brains to make it softer, and then you would use the heart or the liver for the colors. But as time went on, stuff became easier. So now we're able to make regalias out of fabric. So as you can see, there's not too much leather on them, it's more fabric, but that's because, you know, time went on, we adapted with the times, and now we're able to do an easier job. Plus, my wife really doesn't like tanning hides. She'll do it if she has to, but it's not a fun process. Blankets and drop them in front of the guy that they wanted. But since my wife and my sister already have the guy that they want, they don't need to do that. Even though it'd be nice to be appreciated sometimes. So like I said, that's a women's traditional dance. It depends on what territory you go to. So like in the south, their regalias are different. In the north, their regalias are different. In the west and the east, wherever you go, there's a regalia. It has a basis, but it changes how the end process, how it looks and everything. Haya's getting ready, so what we'll do next is called a fancy dance. Now, powwow is the name that comes from the Narragansett, and it was a gathering of their medicine men. When the medicine people, when their medicine people would gather, they would have, what's it called again, Betty? Powwow, so it's called powwow. So powwow actually comes from this territory, and it's changed over time thanks to Wild Bill, his shows. he really brought it out. So like this morning, how we did a flag song. Usually at a powwow, there's a grand entry where you have head dancers and chief and council, and all your flags come out into the circle and get danced around. And then you'll have a flag song to honor your eagle staffs and your flags. And then you'll have a veteran song. So Wild Bill really changed powwows because in the rodeos they would come in with the horses and all the flags and everything like that and all the dancers. So powwows have changed over time. They started off as social gatherings like this, just people hanging out. Like if another tribe were to come down and visit the tribe here would host that for them. They would get food and they would be able to give them blankets and other stuff to help them on their journey. So now it's become where, okay, this reservation is going to hold this powwow. Everybody's welcome. It's a whole lot easier to travel now. We don't have to jump in canoes. We can jump in our car and boom. You know, I've been a lot of times that me and my wife have done like 15, 16, 17-hour trips just to go to a powwow. So what this dance here, it derives from, it started as a traditional dance. They would hold their shawls in their arm. Then it changed to make it more fancy, to draw more people in. So now what they do is they emulate butterflies with a shawl, or now it's changing even more. They can use handkerchiefs in their hands to emulate what they want to do. So DTS has a shawl that she'll be using, and Okwisi has bandanas that she'll be using. Because she's lazy and she doesn't want to hold the shawl up. I told her if she just works out, it won't be as heavy. So DTS asked for a crow hop. Now with different dance styles, there are different dances that are done in them. Most songs are just that straight beat. Some of them have different beats to them. So this one's going to have a whole different beat to it. And what they're going to do is they're looking like a crow hopping across the ground. And we're just going to, why you want 4, 5, 6? That dance is, like I said, it's called the crow hop. That is not just for the women, the men do it too. There's also a double beat crow hop that is done as well. And as you can see, like I said, another story is being started. So as my granddaughter came out and she was dancing, she was starting another story. Separate from her mother, separate from or her mothers and fathers, separate from us, separate from our mothers and fathers, and so on and so on. It's getting warm up, so I'm going to take the foot off real quick. Plus, my son Haya, he's getting dressed. And we'll explain a little more about his regalia here in a minute. So if you'll notice too, on their regalias, there's different things that they wear, like the hair ties made out of animals. Which one is that? Those are minks. So yeah, she has minks. My daughter Dikas has otters. Zips has had otters. My wife has she has an otter. Also, with the bags, they're made out of deer skin. The moccasins are made out of deer skin. That one's got rabbit fur on it. The parfleche is made out of hide. So everything we wear has a purpose and a significance. It also, the flashier your outfit is for a competition, the more points you get, or the more you get looked at anyways. Alright, so this is my son Hayat. The style that he dances is called grass dance. So what it is his regalia is to emulate the grass. So there's many different stories to this style of dancing. Basically what it all boils down to is when this dance started, we didn't have lawnmowers yet. So their job was to go out to where the social or the dance was going to happen, and they would dance and pat down the grass. So that's why he's able to, his breech, his top, everything that he has is made to emulate the grass. Now, what he has here is he's got his moccasins on his feet, and then he's got fur and bells around his ankles. The regalia is made from fabric as usual, but he has pants, a breech, side drops, a belt, harness. Is that a yoke too? Is that what that's called? A yoke? Or your choker? His cuffs and top, his headband, and he also has what's called a head roach, and that is the fur on that. The white part, the short white part, is deer hair, and then the long part is porcupine hair. And then he has eagle feathers and plumes sticking out the top. So this is all, it all looks very beautiful. All the dances, all the regalias look very beautiful and everything. But they, like I said, they all have a purpose and they all have a reason as to why they're wearing that. So yes, that's grass dance song. That's started out west, up in the east. We call ourselves sweetgrass dancers because the long grass that we have is sweetgrass. So, also there is another men's category called men's traditional. Now this is a lot of leather or fabric, and there's what's called a bustle on their back, and that is made out of eagle feathers. I'm not dancing. They're making fun of me because I won't dance. My regalia shrunk in the wash. Or the fridge. One of those two devices made it shrink. So he's going to go change right quick. But what we're going to start doing now is we're going to start doing social dances. So this is the audience participation part. So you guys get to come in and try it. We will show you the dance real quick, and then you guys can come in and try the dance. Oh. You're gonna hit him with that right on? Okay, so, like I said, with, holy, he's so loud. Oh yes, when you come in to participate, please come in through the eastern door over here. So, like I said before, we would travel a lot and we would trade with other tribes. So this next dance is called the alligator dance. Now, we don't have alligators up here. I mean, me and my kids joke and say that like the 18-wheeler tires on the side of the road are alligators because when you run over them, they just slap up there and bite your tire. But we would go down to like Florida and stuff like that where there is alligators, and we would trade down there. So we would not only trade goods, but trade stories and songs. So that's where this one is derived from. So not only will you be participating in dancing, there is also a singing part that you have to do. And you don't have to have a really beautiful singing voice like me and Bedog and Haya. It's fine. I know we sound like angels in a choir. So what we will do is there's a part of a song where we go, yo ho, and you guys go, wee yay. So let's try it real quick. Ready? Yo ho! Wee yay! Yo ho! Wee yay! Yo ho! Wee yay! So with this song, it will start it off like this. And we start singing, and then there's a part where we go, Yottawe ho yane. And you have to spin. You spin clockwise. Clockwise, you two. Clockwise. Well, I better explain this real quick because two people are forgetting. We do everything in a clockwise fashion. So everything happens in a circle to us. So the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, clockwise. Everything goes clockwise, not counterclockwise. The only time you do counterclockwise is if you're Mohawk and you want to start trouble. If there's any Mohawks in here, it's okay, a Mohawk told me that. So we will show you real quick how to do this dance. Now this is a paired dance, a couple dance. So we will show you right quick, and then you guys find a partner and come on in. Try not to get too close to the fire.
Okay. That might be too much fun.
You just gave up the super secret. It was playing a prank on them. Yes, the song gets faster and faster as it goes. We're going to surprise you Come right on in, come right on in. Go right around the whole thing. I'm backing up because it does get faster. It gets really wild, and I've seen like adults running with kids, and you know, like when you swing a kid by their hands and their feet in a circle, it looks like that sometimes. You just you see elders doing it. Okay. I'm so sorry my wife picked this song first, not me. Alright. So remember, you guys have other participation besides dancing. What is that one? When I go, yo-ho! Yeah. Sweet. You guys are awesome. Make my job easier. You guys did a real good job. I was getting tired just watching. So, I learned these songs at a young age, and my father, Mr. Roger Paul over there, would make me participate in these songs. So I'd be like 2 years old, running around with a loincloth over my diaper. Just be shouting at us, Skijanoga, Skijanoga! I mean, dance Indian. Okay, so that was fun, eh? You guys had fun? Yeah! All right, so we're gonna try another social song. This one, not as fast. And remember, I didn't pick that one, my wife did. So when you later on, when you're sore, you don't You don't get mad at me.
Service?
What do you want to do now, bitch?
Oh, good. I'm so
Grab
happy.
it?
What you need?
Okay, so, like I said, we're storytellers too.
How old?
So this one is called the Rabbit Dance. So with
So is
this
she
song,
good emotion support?
the story is that a long time ago some hunters went out, and as they were out hunting, they came up to a clearing and they were waiting to see if any moose or deer or anything would come out. Well, all of a sudden a bunch of rabbits come out and they got ready to shoot, and the eldest hunter was like, oh, hold on, let's wait a minute, something's going on here. So all these rabbits came out and stood in a circle by twos. And they were all sitting there watching, and all of a sudden this big rabbit come out and went right in the center. And it started drumming on the ground with its foot. And the hunters sat there watching this, and they were all amazed by it. They forgot that they were actually out hunting, so they just watched and watched, and they ended up going home with no meat, which is never a good thing. We joke around and say that our traditional word for someone who can't hunt is vegetarian. So it's my wife sometimes go to Subway, she'll be like, yeah, give me a veggie delight, and I forget, and I'll tell the guy, I'm like, give me a can't hunt delight. They've got used to it now, so they just know right off. But they went home without any food, and they went and they talked to the eldest grandmothers, because our hierarchy system is our women are our boss. So, oh yeah, go ahead, clap now. It's not fun when she tells me what to do and I have to listen. But because you go by your mother, your clan goes by your mother. You always know who your mother is. So your clan goes by your mother. You hear, the first thing you hear is your mother's heartbeat. So you already know who your mother is when you're born. So they went to the eldest clan mother, because in each of the clans there is the eldest woman that takes care of everybody in the clan, decides what happens in the clan. And then, so they went to their clan mother and they told her what happened. And she's like, well, what did the drumming sound like? And she handed them a drum, and he started drumming it. And he started drumming it. So he's drumming it. And she said, okay, what did the other rabbits do? And the other hunters got up and got in pairs, and they started dancing it. The other hunters got in pairs. So they showed this to her, and she said, well, you guys, oh, thank you. It's very nice. We'll show more in a minute. So they showed the clan mother this, and she said, well, you guys come back with something more important than food at the moment. They were still hungry, but they ended up learning a story, and were given a gift. So now we share this gift with you, and it's called the Rabbit Dance. So like I said, we'll start off, we'll show you how it's done, and then again, there's audience participation. Not as fast as the last one. Very nice and chill. All right, ready? Oh, hold on. All right. Oh. Oh, me hold it? All right, here we go. as you can see, you and your partner are going to face each other and crisscross your hands. You know, crisscross applesauce. And what you will do is you guys both take 2 steps sideways forward and 1 step back. Like that old Paula Abdul song there. And I hear some people laughing, so that means there's not too many people around my age or older that know what that is. The old. So this is where you guys can come in now and line up in pairs again. Alright, now, you guys can come in now that you've seen it. You guys are all going to be just like, you're going to go to a social and they're going to be like, we're going to do this dance. You're like, oh, I already know it. Yeah, I already seen it. Let me show you how to do it. Okay, now remember, you face each other and you hook pinkies. Now, if you're married or dating, don't make promises you can't keep right now.
You just pick your opposite legs so you don't hit each other. Pick the opposite legs.
Yeah,
Okay, so at gatherings and powwows, we have what's called intertribal dances. So you don't have to be a part of a tribe to be intertribal, because there's more than just one color on our medicine. So we consider all them colors different tribes. It's just we have status cards on that. And we have to prove we're calling, you guys don't. So with this, what we do is intertribals are spot dances as well. So what will happen, you don't get anything. What happens is in the spot dance, the head dancer or the MC or the arena director pick a spot. Whoever is closest to that spot either gets money, or this time it'll be a bag of sage. This sage works awesome. So you light it to smudge yourself and use it to smudge away evil spirits and everything like that, to cleanse yourself. It works real good, because whenever some of my wife's friends come over, I light it, they leave, and I'm just like, works every time.
Pulling my dancing friend over.
Chased by the cops, freeze.
No. Oh.
Oh, I said that, now I'm breaking up my gold slip.
I think that's about cool.
Oh, could be your spot. Hey! Alright, so I thank you guys again. Didn't like their food and tasted bad, and they ended up getting sick. The nuns and the priest made her eat all that food even when she got sick. So they were forced to do that. If their yardsticks across the hands, stuff like that, they would get slapped for speaking their own language. So after residential schools, a lot of the older generation was scared to teach us the language, because they thought that we were going to get slapped and hurt, or we were going to get taken away. It's starting to come back. You know, the language is starting to come back. They're starting to teach it more, but there's still generational trauma from that. So it's an ongoing thing. And then also another thing that we have is missing and murdered Indigenous women. So there is a lot of Indigenous women that are grabbed and used for sex trade or other things such as that. Out in the plains in Canada, they what's called Starry Night rides, where they take their Indigenous women out into the mountains, do whatever they want, leave them, stuff like that. So it's a lot of trauma still going on with us. It's not just with us either. You know, there is a lot of other minorities that's happened to, but with us, it's a whole lot more with us. I guess we get overlooked, I guess you could say. So with this honor song, you can dance in the circle, you can stand to the side. The only thing that I do ask is where this is an honor song for those that have gone before us, for those that have went through residential school survivors and such, and for missing and murdered Indigenous women. This one is not to be recorded. So if you could not record this one.
And thank you all for your participation. What a beautiful day we have. Newburyport's 3rd annual Indigenous Peoples Day. So many people have helped to make this possible, and we're so pleased to have 2 of our honored members here of our planning group. I'd like to introduce to you Onega Wea, White Wolf. He's a Salagi Cherokee. He helped us with our opening ceremony and fire last year. We're very honored to have him. He's a drummer, dancer, a storyteller, an artist, and educator. He was the vice president of the Red Road Foundation, an educational nonprofit organization in New Hampshire that provided programs and grade levels from grammar school through college, as well as public venues and retirement homes. White Wolf is Lakota taught for decades, having grown up out west. He was also a member of the Kitowa Society in New York, a tribally recognized Cherokee group who performed traditional ceremonies in upstate New York. He was also a member of Haina Second Sons Powwow group who performed in New York. He's a pipe carrier in both Lakota and Cherokee traditions and is a Northern Plains dancer in the powwow community. Please welcome Onega Wea.
Thank you. I brought my big drum, and it's an awakened drum used for ceremonies. And I keep it covered until we open the drum with a song. It's a prayer song. But I'll share the story from where the song came from first. It's a Lakota song. And the story goes that in the time of creation, when the Creator was making all the things living on the earth, all the animals came first, all the winged ones, all with 4 legs and the crawlies. And when Creator decided to make the new ones, the human beings, he held a council with all the creatures of the forest, a grand council, and asked, I'm making new ones to walk amongst you, but unlike you, they will not be born knowing how to live in a good way, in a way of balance and harmony. They will be born needing to learn. So I called this council to have a teacher step forth. And Creator was looking for volunteers, and the eagle flew down and landed in the circle. He says, Creator, I'll teach the new ones. I'll teach them how to build their nest up high on the cliffs, how to hunt in the lakes. And Creator says, thank you, eagle, but they will not be able to fly like you. Okay, what's with this? Oh, okay. But eagle, you do fly closest to me. So you will be the one to carry their prayers to me. And you will always be sacred to them. Who else? Bear came in. And Bear says, you know, I can teach them how to forage. I can teach them where to get their medicine. I can teach them how to find a nice cave for the long winter sleep and how to fatten up before winter. And Creator said, these ones will not sleep like you in the winter, and they will be many, not solitary, like you, Brother Bear. but you will teach them the medicine and where to get the plants and the herbs and the tree barks to heal them. Who else? Wolf came in, and Wolf said, we live in a pack, we live in harmony and balance, we take what we need, we respect our elders, we protect our young. We will walk with these new ones and teach them until they're walking in a good way with the rest of creation, in balance and harmony. And Creator said, good. Let it be so. And so the wolves did live with the humans to teach. And when the humans were living in a good way, taking only what they needed and taking care of each other, Wolf said, it's good that you've learned the ways. It's time for us to go and return to the forest. But there may come a day when you start to forget. So we will give you this song. It's a spirit calling song, and when you sing it, we will return to you and remind you how to live in a good way. So I chose this song for this drum because this drum has a name. It's Wolfheart. My son Seth and I will share this wolf song, the spirit calling song. when I was in New Hampshire for many years, held a drum circle every full moon. We'd use this drum and hand drums, gather a lot of people together. We have storytelling, and it was a community that helped each other when they needed it. All it took was to ask. A very dear friend recently crossed over within the last year. He was Al Medicine. And excuse my emotional part. He was one of my dearest friends in all my life, like an older brother. Okay. So this is for you and for Snowy Owl. Thank you for being a part of this circle. I want to thank our elder, Grandmother Chichi, for being here. She's filled an empty spot in my heart. My grandma passed away a long time ago. But I get to hug this one now. And she is such a dear heart. She does so much to help so many people and asks for nothing in return. She's the epitome of how we all should be living. If we live in abundance, we should share that abundance. We're out of balance in this country. The have and the have-nots. And the haves have way too much. They don't even know what to do with it. And there's people hungry. There's people homeless. Native people never had that. If one person in a tribe was hungry, they were all hungry. If the babies were crying, so were the elders, because there wasn't enough to go around. Sometimes things happen. Winter comes too soon. We didn't get to our summer camps yet. And in the old ways, when the elders got too feeble to make the trek from winter camp to summer camp, the elders would say, no, I'm not going. I'll stay here. I'll put my back up against the tree. And I will sing my passing song to Creator. Remember me. Remember what I've taught you. Remember the ways. Share them with your babies. So these ways are good ways. As this world gets more and more out of balance, it might crash. Who do you think is going to be around that knows a good way to live without Walmart and all the support that we have in our cities? You know, do we still know how to make our own clothes? I don't care if it's a sewing machine or buckskins. If you have a lot of something, share it with those who don't. In tribal ways, you know, if I was a good hunter and I had too many skins and too much meat, but my corn didn't grow so good, and grandmother's corn grew good, then I would make new clothes for grandmother and she would fill my catch pit with corn so that we could both make it through a winter without being hungry or cold. You know, I'd like to know, you know, how many of you can tell us the names of the mothers, the fathers, the children, and the grandchildren that live in the 6 houses nearest you? Any hands going up? You can name the whole families of the 6 houses closest to you? No, not today. Do you know if they're hungry? Do you know if they need anything? Do we even pay attention to little kids running around in ragged shoes? It's a little stuff. It's just little things. The way to save the world is one hand at a time, holding the next one. It's a circle. There is no leader in a circle. We're all equal, and we forget. We have forgotten what equality is. You know, there's 4 colors on the wheel. There's 4 colors around this circle: red, yellow, black, and white. This makes the circle, and it's 4s. We got 4 seasons. We got the 4 colors of man, the 4 root races of man: red, yellow, black, and white in these circles. We've got the 4 seasons that come and go every year. Everything's in circles and everything's in 4s. So in these simple old way traditions and teachings, we can begin to reunite with the people that are closest to us in a physical way, you know? Say hi to your neighbor when he turns off the mower. If you don't know their name, introduce yourself. I mean, when I was a kid, we moved a lot. When I was a kid, we moved a lot. And we move into a new neighborhood, somebody come over with a pie and say, welcome to the neighborhood. You know, we paid attention. Okay, I'm dating myself, okay? But it's important, you know. People are important. We're all we got. Red, yellow, black, and white, we all bleed red. We all get hungry, we all get cold. We all have the same needs. But what we need most is love. We need to love ourselves enough to love others. And until we learn to love ourselves, we don't even know how to receive love from others. And that's just a heart truth. Hello. Okay. So you need to go? One more song. Seth just came up with a song. It's called a Woman's Healing Song. And we all need healing, or we know somebody that does. If you know somebody that's hurting, this song is being sung for them. Hold them in your heart. some of us have to work. Not me.
Thank you to Seth Willie
I want to thank my boy.
for drumming and for helping to organize this event, one of our local Indigenous organizers. And thank you to Onega Wea White Wolf, our dear friend and firekeeper and drummer. Thank you. We are very blessed by so many today in this circle, not least of whom is Chicky, Red Dawn here. She's going to come into the circle with her family. Our Micmac elder here, and her two nieces, Sarah, Small Turtle Levinson, and Melanie, Rocking Cradle, Courier. Please make them welcome. These ladies have done so much for this event to help us plan it and organize it and to bring their culture and their wisdom.
They want me to sit and thank you and bless all of you. Niskum Jezalul Dugama, the Creator, loves you in all our relations.
I'm very short, as you can see. Huh? My name is Melanie Courier. I'm Micmac Native American. And I'm with my cousin, Sarah, and my auntie Chick. We're going to be saying a Native American prayer, the Smucky prayer, and it goes like this. May your hands be cleansed, that they create beautiful things. May your feet be cleansed, that they might take you where you most need to be. May your heart be cleansed, that you might hear its message clearly. May your throat be cleansed, that you might speak rightly. Might speak rightly when words are needed. May your eyes be cleansed, that you might see the signs and wonders of the world. May the person and the space be washed clean by the smoke of these fragrant plants. And may that same smoke carry our prayers spiraling to the heavens. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chicky and Melanie and Sarah, for doing so much for this event today, the heart and soul. I invite you to come over and talk to folks. Sarah and Melanie have a cultural art and craft and prayer tie table over here, and they're raising money for some important charities who do work to help the residential school survivors. Chicky's family, her mother and others were in the Shubenacadie Residential School in Nova Scotia. And so there's charities that are being benefited over there at their table. So if you'd like to come over and say hello and make a prayer tie offering and learn about the issue of residential schools in our country, as well as murdered and missing women that Nicholas Paul spoke to earlier. We also have an entire advocacy table, an information table. So I encourage you to please come on over and learn about some of the regional Native organizations doing important work in their communities and in our collective communities. And we also have a raffle over there, and we have donation jars. This is a completely volunteer-run nonprofit event. We so appreciate your generous donations. We also have Venmo and GoFundMe, and we hope you'll take a look at the sculpture over here. Jeff Griggs, our local sculptor extraordinaire, has made a beautiful honoring of a woman and child called the Sun Squaw of Survivance. And we invite you to go over there and learn a little bit about that sculpture and honoring of our regional women leaders. And please, come over and spend your money at our artisan booths. So many of our presenters have come from many hours away, and they've brought beautiful wares that they've made, and we hope you will support them and say hello and get to know your neighbors, get to know your Native neighbors. And so we are so pleased to have another teacher, elder, educator here with us today. She's Abenaki from Vermont and from Western Mass, most recently Western Mass. And we're so pleased to have her here. She's going to share some Abenaki stories with us. Please welcome Willow Green.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out on a day like today. It's beautiful. Yesterday was so wet. We went walking around. We don't usually get to the seacoast very often, so it was a lot of fun, even in the rain. Spent more money than what I probably should have, but it was fun. Anyway, my name is Willow. I'm Abenaki, and today I guess I'm going to tell you some stories that have been around since the very beginning of time. Now, I generally like to start with one story in particular. A lot of people don't understand that Native folks are still here, and this story illustrates that we are still alive and well. Now, here in the East, we have a hero by the name of Bluskabe. He did not come here to the world the way the rest of us came here to the world, and I'm going to tell you how that happened. In the very old days, Creator worked very hard at making creation. He made everything so beautiful, but you know, it was an awful lot of hard work making everything. When he was finally finished with this beautiful creation, he looked down at his hands and he saw that all the dust from all that hard work was still on his hands. So he brushed his hands together, and all of that leftover creation dust sifted down to the earth. He stood back and he watched, and the most amazing thing began to happen. All of that leftover creation dust, it began to swirl around, and it began to shape itself. And it shaped itself into a body, arm, neck, and a head. And it sat up and it looked around. And Creator said, "Who are you? You are so wonderful." Well, even though he just shaped himself, already he was pretty wise, and he looked back at Creator. He said, "You are the wonderful one. You sprinkled me. I am only Bluskabe, the one that made himself." Now, Bluskabe wanted to stand, and he wanted to walk with Creator. But like a lot of children, he was trying to do something he just was not ready to do. You see, he had forgotten to shape legs, so he was still connected to the earth. But he tried to stand anyway, and he pushed against that earth, trying to rise. He pushed so hard that great mountains rose up on his right side. And he tried again. He was still connected. And he pushed so hard against that earth that great mountains rose up on his left side. He still had no legs. He was still connected to the earth. Now, Creator, like a lot of good parents, just stood back and let Gluskabe learn for himself. This time, Gluskabe reached up to the very tops of those mountain tops to try and pull himself up. He was still connected to the earth, so the only thing that happened was his fingers scraped down the sides of those mountains, forming channels where rivers flow to this very day. Then he looked around and he realized that he had forgotten legs. So with the leftover dust of creation, he shaped 2 strong legs and he stood and he walked with Creator. Now where he had sat, there was this great indentation in the earth. And over the years, that place has been filled with water. And the Abenaki people call that place Patonpatak. And it means the waters in between the mountains. Now, Gluskabe and Creator walked side by side, gazing at all of the beautiful creation. And Gluskabe smiled. He said, "You have done well. You have made so many beautiful things, but maybe I could make something too. Maybe I could make the wind blow." Creator said, "Go ahead, make the wind blow." So Gluskabe sat down upon the earth and he thought about the wind. And he thought about that wind for a very, very, very long time. And after a very, very, very long time, just a gentle breeze began to flutter the leaves in the trees. He was so proud. He jumped up and he thumped on his chest. He said, "I made the wind blow. Can you make the wind blow?" Well, Creator said one word. He said the word that meant wind. And that wind blew so hard that it flattened the grasses of the field. That wind blew so hard it bent even the tallest of trees right down to the earth. That wind blew so hard it even blew all the hair right off Gluskabe's head. And all he could do was smile. He said, "Indeed, you can make the wind blow. You are Creator, and I am only one that shaped himself." Now the Abenaki people, when they hear this story, they remember to be grateful for everything Creator has placed here for their use. And if you go to that land to this very day, you can see where Gluskabe came into being. The mountains on one side are the Adirondacks. The mountains on the other side are the Green Mountains. And Patonpatak, that water in between those mountains, if you look at your maps today, it is called Lake Champlain. Now, if you go up that way, up by Swanton, Vermont, even a little further north, as far north as Odanak, Quebec, they will tell you Gluskabe is still alive and well, that he lives on the largest island within Lake Champlain, and he's there chipping arrowheads. He's waiting for the time when all that was once taken away is given back again. Some of those other grandmothers will tell you that, yes, he's there on Grand Isle, but all he's doing is sleeping through the years until the very same thing happens, until all that was once taken away is given back again. And I like to think it's that second version. Now, 21 years ago, in the month of April, Gluskabe reached down inside of the earth on the backside of Lake Champlain, out there by Plattsburgh, New York. And he reached down into that earth and he began to shake. He shook that earth so hard that it measured 4.5 on the Richter scale. Now while Gluskabe was shaking the earth around, there was an Abenaki family gathered in a Claremont, New Hampshire hospital. And we were all there just waiting for something special to occur. Just before noon, just before 12 o'clock, Huascabe thought that people might still be sleeping in and that this event was so special, everyone should be awake for this. Huascabe reached down into that earth and he shook that earth hard one more time. Right after that very first aftershock, my very first granddaughter came into the world. Her parents, both Abenaki, named her within the language, and her name is Onzali Pangia, and roughly translated, it means angel of the earth. Now, I told her parents on that day that she was a mover and a shaker. At the ripe old age of 21, she's a mover and a shaker still. And as she walks on this earth, she's a part of the future of the Abenaki Nation. And that's that very first story. Now, inside of this pouch are sort of indigenous index cards. There's little stones and little pebbles inside. When my children were younger, they would draw pictures on the stones to help me remember certain stories. So I'm going to set the microphone down and ask this lady over here if she would pick the next story for us. Now, in the old days, in the very old days, there was a tradition among the villagers of the Mohawk people that when it was time for a young boy to become a man, he would leave his family, he would leave his village, and he would climb up to the top of the highest mountain that he could find. And there he would stay and he would pray for a vision. What is it that he could do to help his people? Well, it just so happened in this one particular village, it was time for this one particular boy to become a man. He left his family, he left his village, and he climbed up to the top of the highest mountaintop that he could find. And there he stayed and he prayed for 3 days and 3 nights, the entire time praying for a vision that would tell him what he could do to help his people. Now, at the end of that time, he didn't really think that he had a vision, but he looked down at his feet and there was a rattlesnake there. Thank you so much. And that snake spoke to him and said, please, pick me up. Carry me down the mountain to where it's warmer, where it's easier for me to survive. Well, that boy, he'd always listened to his parents before, and his parents had always told him that if he ever saw a rattlesnake, in fact, if he ever saw any snake, he should just leave it alone, never pick it up. If he did, that snake might bite him, might be poisonous, he might get sick and die. He should never touch any snake that he saw. So that boy spoke back to the rattlesnake. He said, oh no, I can't pick you up. If I do, you might bite me and then I get sick and die. You have to stay right here on this mountaintop. The snake spoke again. He said, please, you are so special. I promise you, if you pick me up and help me out, carry me down the mountainside, I promise I will never bite you. That boy ignored the words of his parents, and he reached down and he picked up that rattlesnake and he placed him inside of a pouch, and he carried that snake down the mountain. When they reached the bottom of the mountain, that boy very gently, very carefully reached inside of his pouch and then placed that snake gently upon the ground. And that snake did what any other snake would do. Turned around and he bit that boy. And that boy cried out in anger and in pain, look what you've done, you've bitten me. Now I'm going to get sick and die. You promised me, why did you do this thing? The rattlesnake said one thing. He said, "You knew exactly what I was when you picked me up." Every good story has a lesson. This one does too, but sometimes it's kind of hard to see that lesson, so I'm going to help you out with that. The lesson is for all of you young people. You listen to your parents. You listen to your elders. They have been on this earth longer than you, and they know the things in this lifetime that can hurt you. So things like drugs, things like alcohol, and even something called bad company. You treat those things the very same as you would treat a rattlesnake. You leave them alone, and you never pick them up. And that's the story from this stone. And if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to go over this way and ask for another victim volunteer. Long before human beings were here. Now, Creator worked very hard at making creation. He made everything so beautiful, but one thing in those very old days was quite different. In those old days, Creator caused the sun to shine 24 hours a day. There was no such thing as nighttime, no such thing as darkness. Now, on one of those beautiful blue sky sunny days, Otter was on one side of a riverbank, sunning himself and just enjoying the warmth of the day. Up in a tree on the other side of the river, there was Kingfisher. Kingfisher was doing the very same thing, just enjoying the warmth of that day. Now, somewhere, just about in the middle of that river, a fish jumped up. Otter came off his bank toward that fish. Kingfisher swooped down out of his tree toward that fish, and they grabbed that fish at the very same time. Otter said, "Let go, this is my fish." Kingfisher said, "No, you let go, I saw it first." It just so happened that Beaver had been swimming by on Otter's side of the river. He'd seen the whole thing. It was definitely Otter's fish. It also so happened that Crow was flying by on Kingfisher's side of the river. Those guys didn't know what they were talking about. It was definitely Kingfisher's fish. Well, all of the animal people and all of the bird people, they began to argue about just whose fish this was. You know, they argued for so long, they had never even noticed when that fish swam away. But by now, they didn't care. All of that hateful, angry noise grew and grew. And before long, all of that arguing filled the whole circle of the forest. By this time, they had forgotten what they were arguing about in the first place. But they no longer cared. It no longer mattered. All of that hateful, angry noise just kept getting louder and louder, angrier and angrier. And before much more time had passed, all of that hateful noise, it filled the whole circle of the earth. Now, Creator heard all of that bad noise, and he did not understand. Here were the animal people and the bird people. The animal people had beautiful fur coats, the bird people colorful suits of feathers, and here Creator had placed enough food to go around for everyone. There was no reason for these people to argue. Creator decided he was going to do something to get the people's attention. So in the skyland where he lived, he built a very large loom, and on that loom he wove a blanket. And he wove that blanket for many, many, many days. And when that blanket was finally complete, he took it off the loom and he drew it across the sky in between the earth and the sun. And the earth was in darkness for the very first time. The animal people and the bird people, they'd never seen darkness before, and they were frightened, and they began to call to one another, "Kingfisher, where are you? Otter, I'm over here, but where are you?" So all of the animal people, all of the bird people, they began to gather in this great council circle to talk about the terrible thing that had happened to the earth. Eagle spoke. Eagle said, "I am the chief of the birds, and I will just fly up to this blanket in the sky. I will pull it away, and I will bring back the sun." Everyone agreed. This is what should be done. So Eagle flew all the way to that blanket in the sky. When he got there, he sunk his talons into that blanket, and he beat his wings as hard as he could for a full day, until he fell to the earth exhausted. And he landed with such a terrible sound. The animal people and the bird people, they just didn't understand what that sound meant. So they fell through the darkness until they felt the body of their friend, and they realized he gave his life to try and help the people. And they all mourned for him. After a time, Hawk spoke up. And Hawk said, "I am almost as big, almost as strong as Eagle, and I'm sure he's done something to loosen that blanket in the sky, and I will just go up and finish the job." It was agreed by everyone. This is what should be done. So Hawk flew all the way to that blanket in the sky. When he got there, he sunk his talons into that blanket, and he beat his wings as hard as he could for a full day, until he too fell to the earth exhausted. And he landed with that same terrible sound. This time, they understood what that sound meant, and they mourned the loss of two great ones who had given their very lives to try and help the people, and they mourned. After a time, there was a tiny voice in the way back of the council circle that said, "I don't know what I can do, but I'm willing to try and help." And everyone said, "Who is that talking?" And the voice said, "It's me, it's Hummingbird." And everyone said, "Hummingbird, you are much too small. You can do nothing." And they just ignored poor Hummingbird. After a time, Bear spoke up. And he said, "I would fly to that blanket in the sky if I could, but I cannot fly. We should let Hummingbird try and help." So at last, finally, it was agreed that Hummingbird would try. She was very tiny. It took her 4 whole days to reach that blanket in the sky. She had plenty of time to think along the way. She wasn't as big or strong as Eagle or Hawk, but she had things they did not have. She had little tiny claws and a long pointed beak. So when she finally reached that blanket in the sky, she hung on with those little tiny claws, and she poked her beak right through that blanket. When she pulled her beak out, one tiny beam of light shone down to the earth. Well, she was encouraged by this, so she began to fly all over that blanket, just poking her beak in and pulling it back out again. And each and every time she did that, one more beam of light would shine down to the earth. The animal people and bird people here on the earth, they began to see all of these twinkling dots of light appearing in the sky. And they were encouraged by this. So they began to sing and drum and dance, and all of that noise carried right up to where Hummingbird was. And she got inspired. She was so inspired that she began to draw pictures in the sky. She drew a picture of Eagle. She drew a picture of Hawk. And she drew 2 pictures of Bear because only Bear spoke for her at council. And when she was tired, she very gently drifted back down to the earth again, and she landed just outside of that council circle. Bear saw her. Hummingbird, look up and see what you've done. Hummingbird looked up, and the whole sky was just filled with beautiful twinkling dots of light. It was so beautiful. There was enough light here on the earth for the animal people and the bird people to begin to go about their business again. And many of them did just that. But some of them really liked the twilight. Owl learned how to hunt very well in the dark. And Bat learned how to bounce sound off objects to get around. Some of the cricket people, some of the frog people, they liked this twilight so much that they made up songs about it, and they would sing for hours and hours. The animal people and the bird people that didn't really like this twilight, they remembered last time Creator paid attention to them, and they certainly didn't want that to happen again. So they too began to go about their business. All of that hateful arguing, all of that bad noise just sort of stopped. Creator heard the quiet, and he wanted to look down to see just what was going on. So he pulled that blanket away from the sky, letting the sun shine down on the earth for the first time in many, many, many days. That sun was so bright, it could hurt your eyes to look at it, but what a wonderful thing. Now, Creator decided on that day, the people here on the earth, they might need a reminder not to fill the circle of the earth with hateful arguing ever again. So each and every night, Creator pulls that blanket across the sky once more. We can see the stars that Hummingbird placed there. And by those stars, we are reminded never fill the circle of the earth with hateful arguing like that ever again.
This is a beautiful day, and we're a little bit behind on our schedule, so thanks for bearing with us. We're going to be introducing Roger Paul in just a moment, but we have a local poet here who we're so glad to have. He's going to share a poem. And I want to say that there's a debit card that was dropped on the ground. Anna Carolina Maloon. We have your debit card. So if anyone knows Anna Carolina Maloon. And I also want to announce that in a few minutes, Darius Coombs, Mashpee Wampanoag, and his wife, Eleanor, are going to be over at these tables for a traditional wampum and corn husk doll making workshop. So this is a really rare and a wonderful opportunity to come and learn about wampum and the significance of it that Willow was just talking about, and to make your own pendant to take home, or a corn husk doll. So, without further ado, we're going to bring our poet laureate up from Haverhill. I'm so glad that he's here with us today. His name is Dan Spears, and he is the head of the Native American Task Force in Haverhill. And the Native American Task Force is working on creating a Native American honorific park at the banks of the Merrimack, just as we are creating the Indigenous Peoples place here on the banks of the Merrimack. And he's going to tell you more about that, and we're so pleased to have him. Please welcome Dan Spears.
Oh, that's very good. Shio. Oh, Shio. Iganchi Hapochu. Shikwanina. Well, it seems that no one here understands that language, so I guess I'll speak in English. That was Cherokee. We are building in Haverhill a brand new park. It's called First Nations Park. And it commemorates the fact that for thousands of years, the native people used to come to the banks of the Merrimack River in April, May, and the first part of June in order to fish for the sturgeon and the roe that was in the river. The sturgeon, the bottlenose short-nosed sturgeon, is an incredible fish. It's a species of fish that comes every single year to the Merrimack River to spawn. And one spot in the river, which happens to be where Haverhill is, has now been declared a National Wildlife Heritage Area, and it is illegal to hunt, fish, or interdict the sturgeon during this period of time. When the sturgeon come there every spring, they spawn, they lay their eggs, and the larvae form fry. The fry then swim down the river to here in Newburyport, where the fingerlings, the little baby sturgeon, spend the next 6 to 7 years of their life becoming adults. And then when they become adults, some swim out to sea, but they always come back to the same place in the river to spawn each year. And so the First Nations Park and the Indigenous Peoples place here in Newburyport will, in a way, honor a tradition that's been going on for thousands of years. I wrote a poem called The Legend of the Last Abenaki. I'm not going to read the whole poem, I'm only going to read this little portion of it. But it's based upon the fact that for thousands of years, the native people came to the banks of the Merrimack River. And year after year, they would come to the same place, and they would catch the fish, smoke them, and spend the spring there in order to meet other people and to share the bounty. There are tales that are told, tales we pass along through each generation. Tales, if true, and perhaps they may be, reveal the secrets through elation. Look about. On this place where we now stand, once there were no people. And as the sea and the shore, wind and the waves approached the land, the ice age that was here retreated. The land came free. The glaciers carved valleys, Merrimack, quick and wide, rocks and rills, from far north twists and turns, carving paths here and back, with safe coves, birthing grounds, life came forth. Brush and vines, trees and shrubs. Through millions of years, life forms derived. When the Jurassic dinosaurs roamed, the sturgeon lived and thrived and survived. This short-nosed, bottlenose sturgeon, a fossil fish, some say, a special place in the river chose to spawn, deposit roe, and to play. Haverhill now lays claim those sturgeons were here first. Never mind. Way back then, some 13,000 years, did burgeon a fruitful land to share in this glen. To the banks of the river they came, First Nations some maintain, but people to harvest the roe, smoked fish and game, these skies swarming with eagles and seagulls. First Nations people whose names we do not know, as over time identities ranged, woodlands, traces, and Algonquin show that through ages past, cultures have changed. Still, year by year, they came to the tiers, to the shoals and rock-strewn river wide, to build the herring and sturgeon weirs, and the dams the river rocks supplied. As each spring turned to centuries, nature's people lived in harmony, building long traditions, memories, trading hides, flint, tools, pottery. And over time, they all came to know to return to the same riverbed, men to fish, sturgeon to broadcast roe, natural balance with all desires fed. Summer brought planting, hunting, and crafts. Many of the camps were temporary. Sturgeon, first the males, females aft, fulfilling their roles, swam to the sea. Time was slow back then. for not much was made. The camps in spring, the smoking of the fish, the hunters catching beaver hides to trade. Nothing people bespoke the need to diminish. Kadaba, he was, came to the village on the trading trail, sat with us by the fire, said these strangers came here not to pillage, but trading was their only desire. He showed us a leaf, hard like a shell. It held a tiny lake, clear but frozen still. Those who gazed into this lake saw themselves, an image gazing back against their world. Two brothers came from the coast and were fishing on the shore. Two large baskets between them they had filled with their catch. They said they saw a giant canoe and more. It had sticks poking the sky. The sticks were dressed in thatch. The harvest moon came and the time for kin every year before the winter came, together as friends and to make amends. But the shaman said it was not the same. There were fewer people, and wigwams were empty. The story goes on. It tells the story of the Abenaki. And it ends when there is, many, many years ago, on the river, there were people who said, where are these Abenaki? Where are these natives who used to be? And people would say, oh, they're gone. They're not here anymore. And one day, an old man came from somewhere up north, Maine, or perhaps New Hampshire, or even Vermont. No one really knows quite. And he came down and he built a little campsite by the river. And someone asked him, said, who are you? And he says, well, I'm Abenaki. And I came here because when I was a boy, my family used to come here to catch the fish, to smoke the herring. And I just came to see it one last time. Now, we're not sure if that's a true story or not, but we do know that a few weeks later, he passed away. And where he's buried is now a secret because no one wants to interfere with his grave. But in truth, there are no last Abenaki. There are no last Native people. We're all here, and we're all inside ourselves. Thank you. And in Cherokee, I would say, Wana.
Thank you, Dan Spears, Poet Laureate of Haverhill and head of the Native American Task Force. So go over and talk to Dan about the important work that he's doing, including reinterpreting the Hannah Duston statue of the ugly history of scalping and bounty proclamations in this country. And so he's doing some very important work on that, and you can say hi to him. We're so blessed to have some young people here with us today that are also going to share a poem and a land acknowledgement. First, we have Nadia Toth from our high school here. Come on up, Nadia. She's going to share a couple of poems with you. And also, I want to let you know that Darius Coombs has just arrived. Hello, and Eleanor. Please make your way over to the craft wampum making workshop tables and make your own wampum pendant or corn husk doll. So that's starting right now.
Hello, my name is Nadia Toth, and I'm going to be sharing some poems by Indigenous authors from around the United States. This first poem is called Red by Cheryl Savageau. She is a writer of Abenaki and French Canadian heritage from central Massachusetts, and this is Red. In his new poem, The Red Autumn Woods are a metaphor for leftist martyrs. We are traveling east through a maple forest that blazes through the hillsides on both sides of this winding backcountry road. Look at the trees, and I want to tell him, listen, the trees have their own stories to tell. Like the story of the fire deep within the heart, they too have been martyrs in the long war against the land, a nation cut down, children denied. 100 years ago, these hills were bare of trees. A stone wall that wind up through them the illusion of ownership. Now the hills are red with maples. My heart is leaping out to meet them. My eyes cannot be full enough. Though acid falls from the clouds, maples have gathered on the hillsides. In every direction, see how they celebrate. They are wearing their brightest dresses. Come, sisters, let me dance with you. I offer you a song. Let me paint it red with passion. You are all the women I have ever loved. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Okay, great to have young people involved in this event today, and we're so pleased to have Alex with us. He's from North Andover. He's a high school student. He's Haudenosaunee, and he's going to share a land acknowledgement with us. Please welcome Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex, a member of the Turtle Clan of the Onondaga Nation, and I'm here to read a land acknowledgement. As we gather today, we respectfully acknowledge Newburyport's presence on the traditional lands of the Wabanaki, Pennacook, and Pawtucket Nations. As the original stewards of this land, they lived with great respect for the land and for each other for countless generations before the onslaught of colonization, genocide, and forced removal. We honor all Indigenous peoples who lived on the land before colonization, who live here today, and all future generations. We pledge to learn the true history of Indigenous peoples of this land and to support and listen to Indigenous voices and communities today to promote respect, equity, and justice. We also acknowledge the many contributions Indigenous peoples have made to our society and pledge to learn from Indigenous cultures to honor and respect the land and all peoples. Thank you.